Concerts. We all love them. I can't imagine how many I've been to over the years. There's something so special about being in the same room as an artist or a band that you love. It's euphoric. Greetings, people of YouTube. Welcome back to
Pick the Bass.
Today I'm going to try something a bit different. I'm bringing in my friend Mur to help me discuss the best concerts we've ever been to, as well as some of the best shows we've ever played. This is going to be a long one. It's basically a podcast, so strap in. Come along with us as we discuss our favorite shows and our favorite bands.
Let's do this!
Just think, after this you get to have tequila.
That was the plan.
All right, so here we are. We're going to go over our favorite shows we've ever been to. Mur, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Mur. I am the vocalist and keyboard player for Ride the Snake. I like long walks on the beach and hairy dogs, and doesn't get much better than that.
That is true. Hairy dogs and hairy Murs. So as I've said before, we're going to go over our 10 favorite shows that we've been to and throw in our favorite show that we've ever played as well. So I'll start. I'll go with my number 10 favorite show I've ever been to. That would be Squeeze at the Grove in Anaheim, August 12th, 2007. So here's why that show was so cool. One, any show when you're in Anaheim is cool because it's Anaheim. You're in California.
But, so just California just makes shows better is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, big time. And that venue's awesome. That's like when we lived there, that's where all the big shows that we went to
That's
are.
a New Jersey born and bred resident stating that.
Yeah, well, California's cooler. But Jersey's cool too.
Well, yeah.
It's the only two states I would want to live in. So as you remember from years earlier when we were in John Connor,
Yep.
Squeeze has always been one of my favorite bands.
Well, I mean, it still is.
Yes. But at that point, they had been broken up for quite some time. So I had never actually seen Squeeze. And I don't know if you remember whatever that show was called.
A television program?
Yeah, like on VH1 where that dude tried to get bands to reunite. I don't know, it's probably called like Bands Reunited.
Oh, wait.
Shit.
Yeah, no, I vaguely remember that. And they had an episode with Flock of Seagulls.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of it, but I do remember the show.
They had a Squeeze episode.
Oh, okay.
And I had already... Squeeze was like one of those bands, like, you know, when I was like 5, you know, I liked Buddy Holly and Squeeze, and I don't know why. Like, there's no reason for a 5-year-old in 1985 to know those bands exist, but the Squeeze was just always one of those bands, like, before I liked anything, I liked Squeeze.
Yeah.
So whenever that show was, you know, the getting a band back together show, I was so stoked for that episode. Mm-hmm. Like, well, you know, back then you just watched things because they were on. So I had been watching that show. And when you got to the Squeeze episode, I was stoked because it's like, ooh, I like Squeeze. Finally a band that I actually care about.
Yeah.
And the dude goes around, he like talks to everyone important, but he was unable to get Squeeze to get back together. So I think the way it worked was he would go and talk to all the people, get them to agree to, you know, like get together for a show.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if they like booked a venue or did it in a rehearsal space or whatever, but the band gets back together and plays, and the guy that hosts the show gets to watch them and be stoked. So anyway, it didn't work out in this one. They wouldn't play.
Which is great, because nowadays, with any type of program like that, like, they don't show the bad news. They only show the positive stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess they paid for the guy to go around and do his thing, so they had to make something out of it. Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford have quite the tumultuous history and relationship.
Yeah.
That's the two singers. So anyway, back to me going to that show in 2007 in Anaheim. They had not toured, you know, for my whole adult life. I had seen Glenn Tilbrook, the main singer. I had seen him a handful of times, you know, like doing Squeeze songs as well as his own songs over the years. And in fact, he played with a band, like his backing band was this band. They might have been called the Fluffers. It's funny. The Fluffers.
Cool. All right. Yeah, punk rock, man.
So, cool ass band. Is amazing keyboard player, a drummer, and a bassist. Mm-hmm. a lady bassist, which will become important later in the story. So when Squeeze got back together, they got most of their people, but not everybody.
It's usually how it goes.
So they ended up taking the keyboard player and the drummer from Glenn Tilbrook's backing band, the Fluffers, or I'm getting the name wrong, but whatever. But not the bassist. So anyway, I had never seen Squeeze. At the time, Michelle and I lived in California. They were doing this reunion tour, and it was really exciting. So we went, we bought tickets to go, and they were doing like a backstage meet and greet.
Oh, okay.
Which when you're in Anaheim, your backstage meet and greet is outside.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But whatever it cost, it was like, fuck it, it's Squeeze, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So we paid the extra money to do a meet and greet with Squeeze. So we went, we met the band, and you're sort of like going down the line of members. They're all sitting at a table, and it's like the soup Nazi.
Did you squeeze each one?
I did not squeeze anyone.
Swing and a miss.
But they're signing things for you and whatever. And let me tell you, Chris Difford was cranky. He's exactly who he seems like he would be. But I got to the drummer.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking, because they're not the two guys from Squeeze, right? They're in the band that's playing with Squeeze.
Yeah, they're like
so they were more
hired musicians, yeah.
They were more open to conversing.
Yeah.
So I was talking to the keyboard player and the drummer. And the keyboard player is incredible. I forget what his name is, but you should definitely check him out after this. And so I'm talking to both of them and just trying to find something to say. And I look at the drummer and I'm like, I've seen you guys with Glenn Tilbrook a handful of times. You're a great band. I was like, and man, you guys usually have that bassist. She is so hot. And the keyboard player looks at me and goes, yeah, he's married to her. And so I just had to go with it. I was like, well, she's really hot. And he didn't disagree.
I would hope not. I mean, he's married to her.
The other standout thing, I guess I should say that Squeeze was incredible. I've seen them now, I don't know, 6 times maybe, a lot. They're always incredible, but that was definitely the best, definitely the most special. The opening band was Fountains of Wayne.
Nice.
I don't really like that. I don't have any love for the band. I don't dislike them. I've just never been into their stuff.
Yeah.
But it was really cool to have a Jersey band opening for Squeeze and getting to see Stacy's mom.
Was she there?
I don't know if she was there.
Oh, okay.
But did you ever think you'd hear that song live?
Live, yeah, by the original band now. Because I think, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think every so often Bowling for Soup will play it live as like a tribute.
Okay.
Because they were like good friends with Fountains of Wayne. So every so often...
Was Bowling for Soup from Jersey?
No, they're from Texas.
Oh, bummer.
But I think they, because they were kind of in that same vein musically, and I think
Bowling for Soup is a ska band.
No, it's not. It's like pop punk.
Same thing.
And they wrote the theme song to Phineas and Ferb.
I know.
But yeah, no, I think they just used to tour a whole lot. And anyway, they every so often will play it as like a tribute.
I'm pretty sure that they have at least one very large member. Bowling for Soup.
Oh, they do.
So Nofx, their booklets for their albums or whatever were
the inserts.
Yeah, they were always very creative.
Mm-hmm.
And So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes is my favorite Nofx album.
Okay.
And on the inside, it's got photos of all the band members, but none of them are actually them. They're people from other bands.
No, it's people from other bands,
yeah,
not just like random strangers.
So like, whichever one it was, it was like El Jefe, but then it's a photo of the guy from Bowling for Soup.
That's amazing.
But in 1997 or whatever, you don't know these things. Like,
was it like other bands on Fat Records or something, or just like other bands that they were friends with? I'm sure. That's so funny.
So for me at the time, I probably had never seen them in real life.
Uh-huh.
So like, I don't even know that that's not them. Just there's those guys.
And that was like pre like internet dominance, where it was easy to like look up live videos and see what people
there were no live
exactly
videos.
Yeah. So if an insert said, this is what so-and-so looks like. You just had to kind of trust it.
And if I had seen, like, well, even back then, they wouldn't have been on MTV. I don't know how I would have seen NoFX, like, what they looked like before that, unless they were in, like, another one of their CD booklets. But at that point, it's like, well, I don't know which one to trust. Which one is the real NoFX? So anyway, that was Squeeze. That's my 10. Now let's hear your 10.
I think my 10 is probably, I saw Taking Back Sunday with My Chemical Romance and Seosin at the Chance in Poughkeepsie in 2003. I don't have super specific dates like you do, but this was shortly after, not shortly after, but this was after Tell All Your Friends, before the following album had came out. So they were still riding that album on tour pretty hard, and it was also...
Wait, who headlined? I don't know if you said that.
Taking Back Sunday.
Over My Chemical Romance?
This was before My Chemical Romance blew up.
Wow.
Yeah, this was before Black Parade. I think this might have even still been before I'm Not Okay. This is when they were still like goth pop punk or dark pop punk or however people describe it now.
Well, then it couldn't have been 2003.
No,
So,
it was, what was it?
I thought you said 2003.
Oh, it was 2003. So maybe it was after I'm Not Okay came out, but it was definitely before the Black Parade.
So at that point in time, I guess it depends on where we are in 2003. But
I think it was before their video on MTV, because that was really what really blew them up as far as mainstream stuff went.
so when I quit Pensy Prep,
Yeah.
it was like right after 9/11.
Okay.
And so, like, right after 9/11, I joined Hidden in Plain View. And at about that time, at least how I remember it, I could be way wrong, but at about that time, Pensy Prep also broke up, and then My Chemical Romance starts. So I would say that they started latest, the early part of 2002. And so in 2003, when I was on tour with Hidden in Plain View, we would run into them randomly, like on tour somewhere. Specifically, I remember being in Maryland, Baltimore, playing whatever that venue in Baltimore is called.
I'm going to take your word for it.
Yeah, but we were there, and they were on tour with, I don't know, The Used and Thursday or something.
Okay.
And at the time, I guess Frank and I were still, like, talking all the time or whatever. I don't know how you know these things back then. 2003, you still don't really have the internet the way it is now.
I know. No, absolutely.
So how he would know that I was playing somewhere and he was playing somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, when they finished at their show, I guess they probably played early, because those other bands would have been bigger than them.
Yeah.
And then they came and they hung out with us. Whatever the venue is, the name's going to pop up at some point, but it was like a normal venue. And then the backstage they had a house next to the venue.
So that was the backstage, was the house?
So you got this whole house to yourself.
So
and it was punk as fuck.
It wasn't a green room, it was a greenhouse?
Yeah, it looked like Freddy Krueger lived in the house, but it's like this creepy ass house with lots of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And
That does sound punk rock.
it was cool. But anyway, they came and they hung out, and I just remember
Sweet.
being there so late that it's like, oh my god, let's go to sleep. This is too much. So anyway, the point being that at that point, well, I guess Taking Back Sunday got like as big as they ever got right away. So maybe they were the headliner over.
Yeah, no, they were definitely the headliner. So I remember vividly, Adam from Taking Back Sunday did his whole climbed up the speaker thing and like hung from the balcony of the Chance and stuff like that. But My Chem was spot on. They were so good, and like I said, it was before all the frill, all of the Black Parade stuff. Not that I'm hating on it. It's just that wasn't exactly my cup of tea when it comes to My Chem. And then Seosin just absolutely crushed it. And the reason why the show stands out so vividly in my mind forever will be because so Jolly and I went together. And Jolly and I, we approach Anthony Green and Seosin's guitarist, after like they were done, it was like in between bands, I think, but after they were done, back by the merch, because this was also before Anthony Green like went huge and everyone knew who he was and stuff. But
I don't know who he is.
He was the singer of Circa Survive, Seosin.
Okay.
So we go up to them to tell them that their set was sick, and for whatever reason, I forgot if it was myself or Jolly, one of us had the idea to ask these guys, for tour tips. I think at the time, we were starting to like develop our like delusions of grandeur that, the band that he and I were in at the time were gonna start hitting the road, and we wanted to have tour tips and stuff like that. So we asked the two of them for tour tips, and all they said in response was, "Yeah, white T-shirts, a lot of white T-shirts, and McDonald's dollar menu."
Oh.
That was it. That was all. That was their words of wisdom to these two teenagers, right? Was white T-shirts, and a lot of them, and McDonald's dollar menu, and then they were like, hey, we gotta run. We'll catch you guys later, and they like disappeared, and we were just like, sweet, we now know the secret to sick touring tips, and yeah, because of their response, I will never forget that show.
So as you remember being on tour,
yeah.
McDonald's
Years later.
is
Actually, no.
the worst.
2 years later? 2 years later?
We probably toured in 2004.
Yeah, I think it was at the end of 2004.
Yeah. But in Hidden in Plain View is where I learned the lesson that, there's a McDonald's everywhere.
Yeah.
But don't go to one.
Oh.
Because that's you're just going to feel horrible all the time.
It's a greasy mess, and
There's
that's absolutely not what you want in those situations, especially when you're on the road and bathrooms are few and far between.
So we learned very early on tour that there's a McDonald's everywhere, but there's also a Wendy's everywhere.
And Wendy's was...
For whatever reason, you can eat Wendy's all day long and be fine.
because it's not nearly as greasy.
And then we also started... We did this in John Connor a lot, but I started it in Hidden in Plain View eating Subway everywhere you could.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I also remember we stopped at a Bojangles. I had never had Bojangles before, and you were like,
Bojangles,
you're kidding me, right? And I was like, I've never had Bojangles. And we're like, we're stopping at a Bojangles. And we stopped at a Bojangles, and you convinced me to get a sweet tea, and it was probably one of the best sweet teas I've ever had in my life.
I, back then I still ate meat.
Yeah.
So that Bojangles would be more exciting if you eat meat, because it's mostly just meat. But they also they had great biscuits, but it was their sweet potato pies.
Yes, I remember that.
Sweet potato pies are so
I remember that.
good.
You were so stoked for sweet potato pies.
Yeah, anytime on tour when there's a Bojangles, I'm stopping there. There's a few places like that like if you're somewhere and there's an In-N-Out, you're going to In-N-Out. Mm-hmm. But Bojangles, damn, that place is awesome. Dennis has those because he lives in D.C.
I'm down in D.C.
But he never goes to them.
Why?
Because he's a buzzkill.
Bummer.
He's an anti-Bojangist.
He's an anti-Jangist?
Bojangist.
Bojangist.
I don't know.
Don't be an anti-Bojangist.
Eat Bojangles.
Yeah.
And Bojangles sponsor us. So anyway.
How sweet it would be if it was our faces on the wrapper of a sweet potato pie.
I'm down with that. Gotta have party shirts though.
Well, duh.
So yeah, you saw.
So yeah, that was my number 10.
So for number 9, mine was Lagwagon, the Rocks Off Boat Cruise in Manhattan, October 20th, 2012.
Ooh.
So
a cruise show.
Lagwagon on one of those boats that takes you around the island.
Yeah.
All right. So my favorite Lagwagon album is Trashed.
Okay.
They played Trashed in full. And at that time, I don't think that they ever played anything from Trashed live. So it was like, not only did I get to hear something from my favorite album, but
yeah.
they played the whole album. It was super dope. I don't know if you've ever been to a show on one of those fucking ferry things.
No, I have seen lots of advertisements for them, but
it's like the ceiling is like it is here in the basement. So there's that much room between you and the ceiling.
Yeah, it's low.
That's crazy because there was a full-on 1995 mosh pit, and people are crowd surfing.
Really?
But there's like only enough
Their
room.
faces were like rubbing up. Oh, that's gross.
And it was like a drop down ceiling, but it was metal instead of sheetrock squares. So everyone's smashing the ceiling. It got so out of control. It was really cool because it's so hard to get all of my people to go to one thing together. So I had Yanni, Dennis, Michelle, and Joey. So it was like the Avengers assembling to see Lagwagon. Useless ID opened, and that's actually the only time I've ever seen Useless ID. And they're super dope, so that was cool. We stood outside because there's like the inside where the band is and the outside when we just hang out. We stood outside for everyone but Lagwagon, and when we went inside for Lagwagon, at that time, what did I just say, 2012? So I'm 32. We were like right up on the band, front center, more or less. And Michelle was like, should we be standing here? Like, isn't this gonna suck when they start playing? And I was like, dude, everyone's in their 30s. There's not gonna be a pit. Everyone's just gonna stand here. And she's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so we were standing there expecting that we'll be able to just stand there and hang out. First note, everyone just goes fucking nuts. And so we had to back up because...
So what you knew was going to happen and then convinced yourselves it wasn't going to happen ended up happening.
I really didn't think that... And it's funny now because I'm so much older than 32. But I really thought 32-year-olds were too old to have a fucking crazy-ass pit. But anyway, we had a very crazy pit. We moved back like sort of to the end of the pit. That's kind of where I usually stand. And then... I don't remember where Joey was. I think he stayed in the pit. And then Yanni and Dennis, I think, went to the side of the stage. There was like a stairwell that went down to the other level.
Okay.
And that's like where all the cool people were hanging out. And somehow they managed to snag a spot there. So anyway, big pit. Very surprising. But there was also no stage. So the band is on the floor where you are.
Oh, wow. Okay. There was no barricade or anything?
No.
Oh, all right.
And because it got so batshit crazy, the pit is just constantly knocking into the band. And I don't know if you've ever seen Lagwagon, but they're usually a pretty chill band. But they were getting really, really bent out of shape, as you would, because these people are slamming into them. And Joey, who is always Joey Cape, not Joey D'Alessandro, Joey Cape was, like, guys, we're not going to be able to keep playing if you don't get out of our faces. But no one cared, and the band just kept playing. But it was weird to see them get so bent out of shape. And then the other thing is that their original bassist, who had been with them forever, Jesse Buglioni, left somewhere in that time frame. And so I think this was the first show that I saw with Joe Raposo, who's been their bassist ever since.
Okay.
And once again, I don't think you're super familiar with Lagwagon, but Joey Cape is very short.
I think I remember.
And then their guitarist, Chris Flippin, big bitch, is extremely tall. So really weird difference in height between the two of them. And Joey is very, very short compared to just about anyone. And then they bring in Joe Raposo, and he's significantly shorter than Joey Cape.
Oh, really? He's that much shorter?
Yeah, he's a tiny guy. So it's weird. Like, how'd you find someone shorter than Joey Cape? But it's an interesting dynamic. He's usually standing, so Joey's in the middle, and you'll have Joe Raposo here, and then Big Bitch here. So it's like a smiley face of height. But that was a super cool show. Anytime I see Lagwagon, it's a super cool show. But it's just that pit and people crowd surfing with no space above them.
Did you throw some bows?
No, I stood...
To Michelle?
Yeah, probably.
Nice.
I think she picked up some change. No, I just stand there like this, trying to watch the band, hoping that no one touches me. Like, somehow that's going to work.
You just use the force.
Yes, you do not want to touch me, you sweaty mess. So anyway, awesome show. You should do a boat show.
We thought about doing 40,000 tons of metal.
I don't know what that means.
So
but it sounds very Mad Max.
It's not like a boat show. It's a legit cruise. So like you go out for like 3 days or something like that. They have like a whole bunch of like metal bands play like on this cruise ship over the course of 3 days.
Do you know they do punk rock ones?
They do all sorts of they do disco ones. All right, my neighbor was telling me how him and his wife go like all the time, and I'm like, yo, do it. You know, if you got the time and the money for it, do it. But we considered doing the metal one because guys I know that have a very fun, popular pirate metal band. They were doing it that particular. I think they do it every year now, but when I saw that they were doing it, we were like heavily considering it because like Amanda, she knows somebody that either goes or that works it or something like that. So we were like heavily considering it. Ailstorm was another band that was on like the list of bands to play. So I was like, yeah, it's gonna be wild. But we ultimately decided not to. I think Amanda's still on the fence as far as cruises go out.
Oh yeah.
In general, we actually, not to get off topic, but we just watched that documentary on the poop cruise, and it like sealed the deal. She's like, yeah, there's no way in hell you're getting me on a boat, especially if something like this can happen.
I have zero interest in a cruise, but every once in a while, that punk rock cruise has a really killer lineup.
Yeah.
But my problem with a cruise, I like being at the destination. So, like, I want to take the flight to Turks and Caicos and hang out in Turks and Caicos.
But see, that's not a problem with the cruise. That's just not wanting to be on the boat. You might as well just go to the destination and enjoy the destination rather than, like, the journey, then the destination, and then the journey back.
So it's like, it reminds me of being on tour. You're, like, stuck in a van, and then you get out and stretch your legs, and you got to get back in the van.
But you don't have to do any driving shifts, and you can drink as much as you want in the van.
Sure.
And it's legal, as opposed to being on tour, being stuck in a van.
Or I could just go to Turks and Caicos.
Yeah, like I said, or you can just go and enjoy the destination.
If you're going because there's like 3 days of awesome bands, well, then maybe now the journey is the destination.
Yeah, and I don't remember if there is like a destination. I think it might just like be the journey, because it would defeat the purpose of going on this like music cruise if like at some point you get to a destination and then people like get off the boat to go enjoy the destination. The whole point is like the music. So like I think
maybe you gotta do a circle pit on the beach.
Well, maybe just gotta punch a few sharks,
picking up sand.
Hell yeah, dude.
So anyway, Lagwagon, number 9
shows.
for me.
Boat shows.
I think we'll move on to Mur's number 9.
Sweet.
Number 9.
Boat shows. We're going to say my number 9 is probably something more recent. Last year we went and we saw the Aquabats, but we saw them with the Agrolites and Left Alone at Webster Hall. And honestly, the reason why this show made this like top 10 list was significantly all because of the Agrolites. They put on one of the most killer live shows I had seen in such a long time. Shout out to Jesse Wagner, the frontman for Agrolites. He had some like technical difficulties with his guitar in like the first like minute or two of the first song, and then just said screw it, put his guitar down, and then just did the entire rest of their set just as a vocalist running around the stage. And for a dirty reggae band, like he crushed it, dude. He had so much energy. He was able to get the entire crowd to just eat up everything he said and just be like a part of the experience. It was dope. It was so good.
Did they have another guitarist?
No, they do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so typically he plays like lead and stuff like that.
Right.
So instead, there was just no lead guitar. I think the keyboardist pretty much just like picked up some of the slack, and he's a nasty keyboard player. So like it was as if like nothing had changed really. But just the way he was able, he was just so comfortable just vibing up there, just with the microphone, getting the audience to like participate in a bunch of their like call and response stuff and a lot of their backing vocals and stuff like that. It was so sick. And what's funny about that is that was the show that we saw Charlie. We happened to be up on the balcony in like the VIP area without realizing it. We thought it was just like an area of the venue that
this is Webster Hall, you said?
Yeah, anyone could like walk up to, because no one stopped us. No one like asked to check our tickets or our wristbands. They just let us walk right in. And obviously, because me and Amanda were like, well, shit, there's like nobody on the balcony. Let's just go up there, because we didn't want any, sweatiness getting all over us unless it was our own. So we go up there, and then all of a sudden, it wasn't until Charlie saw us up there and he starts texting me and he's like, yo, isn't that the VIP area? And I was like, I don't know. Nobody stopped us. Like, nobody said anything. I was like, just come up here. When he was trying to come up, I guess he like was met with some resistance, and he was like, no, my friends are already in there. So they were just like, oh, okay, whatever. And they let him in. And Amanda had tried to go to the bathroom when she was coming back in. One of the security girls was like, no, you can't go in there. It's the VIP area. And she was like, I just came out of there. My husband's in there. Like, I'm going back in. Like, bye. And she just like walked past the security girl. And then it was after that we were just like, all right, everyone hold your pee. No, we're not going to leave the room just in case.
That's what the balcony's for.
Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, it was just funny how we just stumbled into the VIP area without realizing it, and then just didn't leave out of fear of being kicked out of there.
The Agrolites is the band that plays with Tim Armstrong all the time, I think.
I think they have. I think you might be thinking of the Interrupters.
That's the one with the lady singer.
Yes.
No, I'm pretty sure it's the Agrolites.
So then, yeah. Well, the Agrolites, they
like
provide,
on the Tim Timebomb.
They do the backing band for a number of big like classic ska acts.
If that's the right band, they
do backing. Oh my god, dude, they're so nasty. Like I said, they put on such a killer show. We are like desperately looking forward to them returning to like the New York tri-state area again, so we can go, because it was fun, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like fun, upbeat, dirty reggae. So
Mer loves ska.
I love ska, but
much.
They're not. But I mean, they're really not ska. They're dirty reggae.
Whatever. The other one is
what, Aquabats?
Aquabats.
Well, and technically, Left Alone is also ska. They're more ska punk. But the Aquabats are like your traditional like goofy ska. There's many levels to ska. Ska is like an onion.
A hard pass.
It's like an onion. There's many layers.
And I don't want to eat them.
You were in a ska band, man.
A lot of people were in a ska band.
I wasn't, and it makes me sad.
Well,
I hope one day to rectify that.
Damn.
So that's my number 9.
All right. Let's move on. So 8 for me would be Brian Wilson, NJ Peck, Newark, April 28th, 2017.
Ooh.
So couple things. Obviously, Brian Wilson is sort of my god. I actually did see Brian when I was a kid. So I forget what year it was. You went on a first name
basis with him?
Yes. Yeah, he called me Guy, and I called him Brian. I saw the Beach Boys, I don't know, like 88 or 87 or one of those years, at whatever that venue is on the Garden State Parkway. I think it was called the Garden State Arts Center. Or maybe it wasn't even there. Who cares? So anyway, I saw the Beach Boys.
I'm trying to remember, but I don't really recall.
And years later, looking back, I realized that was like one of the only tours that Brian actually did, during that time period. So I got to see the Beach Boys, but also I did get to see Brian tour with the Beach Boys, which was a rare occasion for most of the time. The Beach Boys were the Beach Boys. But as an adult, this is my first time seeing Brian Wilson at NJ Peck in 2017.
Was John Stamos there?
He was not. He plays with the fake Beach Boys with Mike Love, the douchebag.
I think I've seen them.
Ugh, I would not see them, and I would recommend no one sees them.
I think they played Boulder Stadium.
Gross.
Up by me in Pomona, like a number of years ago, and I'd happened to go.
Mike Love is the worst.
I don't know if anyone else from the Beach Boys plays Beach Boys tunes with a band.
No, it was definitely them. They're the ones that are always on tour.
Oh, okay.
There was a time when Al Jardine had his own version of the Beach Boys. Mm-hmm. He's the guitarist, but Mike sued him, and he wasn't allowed to keep doing it. But so Brian's band is the legit band, while it was just Brian Wilson.
Does Mike's band call themselves the Beach Boys?
Yes. There was like a big lawsuit. Mike was able to keep the name the Beach Boys.
Well, because they didn't use the name the Beach Boys, so maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
Like his band is, they're not. I'm sure they're not bad.
Yeah.
But they're like a county fair band.
Yeah.
Whereas Brian Wilson's band is like world-class musicians.
Mm-hmm. Professionals.
So, yeah. This particular time, they happened to be doing Pet Sounds in full.
Oh, okay.
So I got to see Brian Wilson and his band play Pet Sounds. And it wasn't just Brian. There was, he had Al Jardine with him, so he had at least one other Beach Boy. And then he had...
So they were actually the Beach Boys.
Yeah, there was multiple
Beach Boys instead of just the Beach Boy.
And there was, what's his face? Blondie Chaplin was there. Another part-time Beach Boy.
Alum.
Yeah. So anyway, my first time seeing Brian as an adult, they were playing Pet Sounds. I think it was the first time I was ever at NJ Pack. Really cool venue. And then, while it has nothing to do with the show, the next day we went to California. So it was like starting my trip with a Beach Boys show in Jersey and then going to Beach Boys land. So that was pretty cool.
Rad.
I could probably say more, but I don't know that I need to keep talking about it. It was a little sad. Brian, probably for most of his life, but towards the end there, he didn't really do much. Like the band was phenomenal and did everything, and Brian would just kind of sit there at his piano. Sometimes he would sing, sometimes he wouldn't. He might just stare off into the distance, and it felt a little like, oh shit, are they fucking forcing this guy to be here? But then from like watching stuff.
Was it like a musical Mitch McConnell situation?
Definitely.
Yikes.
But apparently Brian wanted to be there. He said so in lots of interviews and whatever. Yeah. So it seemed sad from my perspective, but what are you going to do? If the man wants to be there, he's Brian Wilson. He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
But they were so good. It was so cool. I love the Beach Boys.
They're a good time.
Let's hear your number 8.
So my number 8, it's Jimmy Eat World, and it was the Clarity X 10 tour. It was their 10-year anniversary of Clarity, and it was at Terminal 5 in New York City, and that was back in 2009, I believe.
Did you see my mom and Dennis?
I was going to save that for the end of the story, but yes, I went. It was me, Jolly, and then it was Dave Kim, Charlie, and then the singer of their band Ridey at the time, BK. We all went together, and Jimmy Eat World was flawless. I mean, they're just top-notch professional musicians.
Yeah,
like
really
they don't mess around. Like they don't even do much rock talk in between their tracks. It's just this song is called Clarity. They play the shit out of the song and then thank you, and then like on to the next song. It was so amazing. I don't remember who else played the show. I don't even think it mattered. I think Jimmy they just completely drowned out anyone else they had playing with them on that tour because they were so phenomenal. And at the end of the night, we end up bumping into your mom and Dennis, and it was just so random. And we ended up walking all the way back to the parking garage with them because it turns out we were parked at the same parking garage.
Did they mug you?
Your mom definitely shot me a menacing look. She may or may not have been holding nunchucks or something behind her back. I didn't want to find out, so I offered her the $4 in my wallet and told her to have a good day.
It's probably for the best.
I know. So yeah, no, like I said, Jimmy Eat World was phenomenal. It was great being there with some good buddies. We had a lot of drinks. Yeah, then seeing your mom and Dennis at the end was kind of like the icing on the cake to a great night. So that was it was a good time, and I will cherish the memory forever.
I think the two of them went to see Jimmy Eat World like 400 times.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Every time Jimmy Eat World, when Dennis still lived here, when he wasn't in DC, every time they played, my mom and Dennis went to see them. I think I've only ever seen Jimmy Eat World on Warped Tour.
Really?
Yeah. I really, really, really love Clarity, and I kind of love Bleed American.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm just not a huge Jimmy Eat World fan.
Yeah.
Like I am of those two albums.
No, and to be honest, I'm the same way. And that was the only time I've ever seen Jimmy Eat World live. And it was only because they were playing Clarity start to finish.
Right.
And of those two albums being the ones that I like, that's my favorite. So I was like, well, shit, like I can't miss this show.
If I hadn't seen them, maybe I would have went one of the times. But as you probably remember, I had like a period from after I stopped playing in a band, I didn't want to go see live music for quite some time.
Yeah.
And so for a handful of years, I was only going to like really, really important shows. But other than that, I wasn't going to go see a band just because everybody else was going to see the band.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Eat World probably fell into that in those years. It was like, well, it's not Paul McCartney or Blink-182 or Nofx, so I'm not going. 7. So for my 7, I've got Green Day at the Nassau Coliseum on Long Island, December 2nd, 1994. My first punk rock concert. I had been to a few local shows, but that's like the first...
Your first big show.
Yeah. It was incredible. So 1994, they're still touring on Dookie. That's like the Dookie tour. And I was 14. My mom took me... I think we took 4 other kids and 4 people sat in the back of her car.
Did you know them?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure.
Or were they just kids off the street?
If I remember
Get in the car, we're going to Green Day.
If I remember correctly, it was Evil Steve, John Tice, Craig Henshin. Wait, that's 3 people.
Evil Steve was like the nicest dude ever, right?
He broke into my house, trashed the house, and broke a bunch of furniture and stole all of my CDs.
So that's why he was Evil Steve. Was this before he did that?
We were friends, and then we weren't friends. And after we weren't friends, that's when he broke into my house.
And was that was also when he earned the moniker Evil Steve?
No, he was always Evil Steve. I don't remember why.
He just finally lived up to the name.
Yeah. He broke into the house twice.
Jesus.
The first time he trashed the upstairs. So if you remember Dumont, I was in the basement. But the first time he broke in, he trashed the upstairs. And I had no idea what happened. We thought Megan just...
Oh, you thought Megan it was a dog at first?
We thought Megan like rampaged and just fucked shit up.
Jesus.
And then the second time, they destroyed my room and stole like everything that I had that was cool. And I don't remember how we figured out that it was Steve. Anyway, it was Steve and some other dude. Who cares? Fuck them.
So you guys were on your way to Green Day.
So anyway,
to bring it back.
So what did I say? Steve, John Tice, Craig Henshin. So maybe there was only 3 kids in the back seat. I kind of remember there being 4, but who knows?
Maybe you were the 4th.
No, I would have been in the front seat.
Oh.
But anyway, so my mom brought 4 to 5.
Did Jonathan go?
No, he if I was 14, he was
Oh, he had to
8.
have been like, yeah.
So she took at least 4 14-year-old boys to Nassau Coliseum to see Green Day. Absolutely wild. So one, I don't really like Green Day now because, after they changed their sound, 3 albums after Dookie, whatever that one was, like, just they're like a different band. And then they did the America album.
American Idiot?
There you go.
Yeah.
That one, while I'd be lying if I said I was familiar with it, I just did not care for any of the stuff that I heard. And since then, every song that I've heard that's new is like, oh God, this does not sound like Green Day.
The only Green Day album I like is Insomniac. Insomniac.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, it's the only one I like. It was actually the first CD I owned.
That's awesome. I think the first CD I owned, I got it right before I got a CD player. Someone gave me Bat Out of Hell.
Hell
the
yeah.
First CD that I owned.
Hell yeah. I was thinking of a way to get Meatloaf to be in this video somehow,
Well, there
and
he is.
you did it. I love this. Hell yeah.
But Green Day, early Green Day is phenomenal. Everyone, except for I guess me and you, is going to argue that that Dookie is their best album.
Oh yeah, no. People
But-
always say Dookie is the best one.
Dookie's a very good album. I just think that Insomniac is almost the exact same album as far as like how the writing and everything goes.
Yeah.
It's just, well, for me, it's a little more punk rock. You know, it sounds a little bit more like a real punk rock band. You know, like
Yeah.
Epitaph and Fat Records. So it just fits my style of punk rock more. But I think it's a little bit better. That's their next album, and they got a little bit better. It sounds a little bit more intense. I don't know. It's a better album. Dookie's good. Insomniac's better.
No, I agree. Brain Stew is my jam.
At that point, Dookie and Green Day, for a 14-year-old, when that's the current album,
Yeah.
that's about as exciting as shit gets.
Yeah.
So that was like, at the time, probably the coolest concert I could have possibly gone to. And they were really good. The two things that stand out, one, my mom let all of my friends, we were in seats, you know, somewhere up here. My mom let all of my friends go and run down and hop onto the general admission floor area, even though they weren't supposed to. So they were allowed to go and hang out in the mosh pit, but I was not.
What was the reason?
Because she's my mom. She said no. It's the first time she ever saw a mosh pit, I think.
And she was like, "Yeah, these other kids can go
Yeah,
die.
they can die,
but not my
you."
son."
So she didn't let me go in the mosh pit. And so many years later, maybe 3 or 4 years ago,
You wouldn't let your mom go in the mosh pit?
yeah, we were at a Nofx show. And she desperately wanted to go into the mosh pit. And I said, no fucking way.
Did she really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And I don't let her into mosh pits because she didn't let me into a mosh pit. I did. We went with you, not with you, but we were both last week at the Less Than Jake show.
Oh, what a great show.
So I told my mom.
It almost made my list.
So my mom is punk rock and goes to punk rock shows.
She's very punk rock.
So I have a 10-year-old son. My mom, him, and I went to see Less Than Jake last week. And I told my mom that when she feels it's appropriate for Indiana to go in the mosh pit, she's allowed to go in the mosh pit. Because I knew that moment's never going to come.
I mean, at least at that show they had a mosh pit referee, so you know there would have been a second pair of eyes looking out for him.
Well, I thought it was clever.
That was amazing.
That's a great way to pwn someone. But yeah, Green Day, awesome. Oh, the other cool memory when we were, you know, like when you're at a proper concert, you know, like at an arena, there's all those dudes selling T-shirts in the parking lot,
You mean like?
like knockoff T-shirts.
Oh yeah. Like
So we were leaving the show, you know, the line of cars in the parking lot, and there was one of those guys holding up some fucking fake Green Day T-shirts, and Evil Steve was hanging out the window and almost snatched one off the guy, you know, from the moving car. Almost got it. But it was, I don't know. I remember it. It was funny. So that is 7. Your turn.
for my number 7, we're gonna go with the Spill Canvas, with Hit the Lights, As Tall as Lions, and Nightmare of You. And this was at the Middletown VFW in Middletown, New Jersey, back in 2006. Again, I went with Jolly, and we were both super stoked because it was a stacked lineup. We were both there mainly to see the Spill Canvas,
Did
but
they have a girl singer?
no, he.
Well, that was the Rocking Horse year or something. Winner.
Something like, yeah.
Sorry.
But no. So Spill Canvas, not a female singer. He's like he was bigger. I think he's slimmed down considerably now. But he used to be bigger back then. But it's like an emo rock band. But we were stoked to see them. They had just put out a new album that we were both obsessed with at the time. And then the fact that they were playing with, Hit the Lights, As Tall as Lions, and Nightmare Review, we were like, wow, this is a stacked show for a VFW in like central Jersey, like middle of nowhere.
And this was 2006?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason why I love this show so much is because literally every single band was phenomenal. And it was at a random ass VFW in the middle of nowhere in New Jersey. And easily any of those bands could have headlined that show, which just added to how like bewildered we were that the show was actually real. Like I remember as we were like on our way to the venue, we were like, yeah, we're gonna get there, and like this place isn't even going to exist. Like there's no way this show is real. Like absolutely not. Like we are definitely like getting scammed or mugged or something like that's gonna happen.
So that venue, I guess, must have really cool shows. I played a show there with Brand New.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Way back in the day. Yeah, it was wild.
So, definitely legit bands played.
I know, yeah. It was like the what is it? The Wayne Firehouse, I guess. Just this like random like venue that's not really a venue per se, that just had these like banging shows. Yeah, each of the bands was phenomenal. Super tight live. And this was still when Hit the Lights still had their original vocalist before he had left, and Nick, the guitarist, had taken over as vocalist. And yeah, no, it was dope. But this was also back when their guitarist, Omar, also looked very much like Dennis back then at the same time. So that always made me laugh anytime I would see them live, and I go, oh, he looks like Dennis. That's so funny. So yeah, it was awesome getting to see all those bands at this dinky little middle of nowhere venue, and basically only paying like practically nothing at the door to get in. Yeah, because typically anytime there was a VFW show, like you wouldn't pay more than like $10 or $15. At most, but yeah, no, it was a good time.
So we've mentioned Dennis like a dozen times, so we should probably say who Dennis is.
Should we though?
Yeah, why not? So Dennis and Jonathan, my two brothers, were in a band called Madison. They were on Rushmore, which was the drive-through sub-label. So Madison, they were a cool band back then, with everybody else. Dennis was the, I guess, keyboard player, third guitarist, singer, songwriter guy. So anyway, that's Dennis. That's why we keep bringing up Dennis and talking about him.
And we will continue to bring Dennis up and keep talking about him.
When he was in Madison, he had the coolest afro that anyone's ever had.
It was way better than Claudio's from Shibuya,
No, it shits all over everybody's afro.
Yeah, no, it was way better.
So, what two things did I want to say? Oh, one, I knew that your list was going to be so fucking emo.
Just like how I knew yours was going to be like super, super like classic punk rock and like
yes
beyond.
Well, wow, what a surprise! Our list is the stuff that we like. But then what was the other thing? Hit the Lights. Well, I'm sure you know the story, but the camera doesn't. My big Hit the Lights story was, I don't know if you were still in John Connor or not, but one of the John Connor tours, I'd been gone for weeks or whatever. And when you're on tour, you're so excited. Like that last week or so when you're driving across the country back to where you live, you're getting so excited about sleeping in your bed.
Your own bed,
it's just so exciting getting to sleep in your bed. So I spend like a week just counting down the days. I can't fucking wait to sleep in my bed. So I get home, and as I said, my brothers were in a band called Madison. They happened to be touring with Hit the Lights. And so I guess nobody knew I was going to be home. I get into the house, right downstairs, really stoked to get into bed. And Hit the Lights is sleeping in my bed. They're sleeping on my couch. I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, you're like irrational at this point in time because your whole world just got totally destroyed. But I'm like, if I was in their situation, I would be so excited about where I am.
Yeah.
So I didn't wake anybody up. I was like, fuck it. I'll just go upstairs and sleep on the couch in the living room. I go upstairs. More Hit the Lights people are taking up all the spaces in the living room. So like every good space in the house is occupied by someone in or with Hit the Lights. And I end up sleeping so that I don't get stepped on, tucked right under the television on the floor in the living room. That was my triumphant sleep station when I returned home from
After
tour.
getting back from tour.
So,
That's too funny.
Yeah, that's when I think about Hit the Lights, I think about how they were in my bed and I was not.
When their original vocalist left and they were looking for a new vocalist, I was in talks with Omar and Nick and had a constant back and forth about potentially auditioning and like coming out and being their vocalist and stuff like that. And ultimately, I ended up deciding to pass on the opportunity to stay with the band I was in at the time. In like the central southeast Jersey area, and a couple of years after that, Omar and I kind of kept in contact for a little bit after that, but a couple of years after that, after Nick ended up just taking over as vocalist, Hit the Lights was going to be playing out in Iowa while I was living in Iowa at the time with the band I was in out there. And when I found out, I messaged Omar. I was like, yo, like you guys are basically going to be playing in my backyard. I was like, that's wild. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come to the show and we're gonna have a great time. So they came out, played a killer set, and then like we all just like hung out at the bar in the venue like for the entire rest of the night, just doing shots and drinking beer and stuff like that, and laughing about how like I was like this close to like potentially being their new vocalist and then bailing on them at the last moment. So it was a funny situation that we kind of laughed at, in retrospect. At the time.
Remember when you could drink a whole bunch without getting hurt? You've told a couple stories now.
Dude, I'm almost at the point where like I can't even remember anymore. That's how long ago it was.
Now you're like, I better not drink more. Tomorrow's gonna suck.
I gotta think about it. It's like every drink I gotta have a glass of water, otherwise I'm gonna feel like absolute dog shit tomorrow morning. It's rough.
Indeed. Dog shit, rough.
So that was my number 7.
All right. So we will move on to number 6. Number 6 was Weezer at Jones Beach Theater. That's Long Island. July 18th, 2018. So, Weezer, Jones Beach. Have you ever been to the Jones Beach Theater?
I've been to Jones Beach, but no, not the theater out there.
One of the coolest venues.
Yeah. It's a big outside amphitheater, right? Yeah.
Big outdoor theater right on the water. How do I do this in order? So it's I think the first and only time I've seen Weezer.
Okay.
And they were co-headlining with the Pixies.
Right on.
First and only time I've ever seen the Pixies. Historically, these are two of my favorite bands. So like, what a cool show. Mm-hmm. And just the special thing about this show was that Rivers was just absolute fire that day. He was a madman, just running around the stage and entertaining the shit out of everyone. My understanding is that you never know which Rivers you're going to get. He might just stand there and stare.
Yeah.
So we got this dude that was just absolutely one of the most entertaining people I've ever seen at a show.
Right on.
And then on top of that, it's Weezer. That right there, you don't have to, full stop. It's Weezer. But also, they're like one of the most talented live bands ever.
Oh, hell yeah.
They're flawless. I think at the time they had Josh Freese playing with them, but I don't remember specifically. Mm. Great show. I will say that the Pixies were not the best, but I don't think that was ever their thing. It was just so cool to see them.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But Kim Deal wasn't playing with them anymore. It was some other lady playing the bass and singing, so that was a little disappointing. It
wasn't that dude's wife, though, was it?
No. I think it was someone who also played bass in Hole.
Oh, okay. Right on.
But who knows? While we're talking about the Jones Beach Theater, mm-hmm. I did want to. It's not on the list, but I did want to put a Blink-182 show that I went to there, which it didn't make it onto the list, and I'm still talking about it. So that was
honorable mention.
That was probably a few years earlier. I don't even remember what year did I say this was. 2018. So I think the Blink-182 show was probably like late 2000s.
Yeah.
It was after they got back together after they broke up the first time. Mm-hmm. So they were probably touring on like whatever that album was called, Neighborhoods.
Okay.
But obviously Blink-182 is just about my favorite punk rock band.
Oh, I know.
Them or Nofx.
I'm familiar.
And I forget who else played. There was another cool band, but Taking Back Sunday opened the show.
Oh, okay.
And I don't love Taking Back Sunday. I just like that one album with the baby on it.
Yeah.
But I think Fred was still in the band, and he's great. I liked him from when he was in Breaking Pangea.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, regardless of if you like their music or not, their live show, well, you were talking about how fun they were to watch. Their live show was just phenomenal.
Yeah, no, Fred brought a lot to the band when he was in it.
And so watching them was really cool. And then Blink-182 was just incredible. But at the end of the show, so the stage just kind of ends at the ocean.
Right on.
And Mark ran to the side of the stage and threw his bass into the ocean. Because there's like a little cutout for boats or whatever. So he throws his bass, into the little channel there of water. And
what a
every once
thing
in a
to
while,
do.
I still think, like, I wonder if that bass is still there.
You gotta go fish it out.
Like, if it wasn't for the sharks, maybe I would want to go and try and find that bass.
I bet you somebody fished it out the second it even went in.
Yeah, probably. But that's how cool he is. He's like, fuck this bass. Fuck your ocean.
Would you ever do that?
Throw a bass in the ocean? No, I love instruments too much. I couldn't.
What if it was a really shitty bass that you got specifically to throw in the ocean?
I think I would try and fix the shitty bass and make it a less shitty bass.
What if it was unfixable?
Then I would throw it in the ocean. But so there's that story.
That's
and
wild.
Then, like maybe 95 or so, I was there once again with my mom. Mm-hmm. We were at a Jackson Browne concert. And that, I think Jonathan came with us to that.
Is that a country band?
Jackson Browne?
Yeah.
No. He's, I guess he's part of like the Laurel Canyon thing from the 60s and 70s.
Oh, okay.
Doctor My Eyes, other songs. Okay. He most famously, he wrote Take It Easy, which everyone thinks is a Eagles song.
Oh, okay.
So they like lived in a house together,
mm-hmm.
and I think he like wrote most of the song, and then they wrote a little bit of the song, and somehow they both recorded it and put it out on their albums.
Oh, wow.
And the Eagles version is the one that everyone thinks of. The Jackson Browne version is so much better. Jackson Browne is phenomenal. Running on Empty, that's a song you probably know if you heard it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've seen Jackson Browne like a lot over the years. But the notable thing for that show was that we spent the day at the beach, and once again, my friend John Tice was with us. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you've ever been to the beach with me. But when I go to the beach, I'm going to dig the biggest fucking hole I can possibly dig. And that particular day, I was...
Do you then dookie in it?
No.
What do you do in the hole?
Hang out.
Do you like make it like a beach, like hot tub kind of thing?
If it gets that way. So at this point, I was probably a little over 6 feet in. I could
6 feet deep?
I could just get my hands
Trying
up.
to kill somebody? Jesus. That's how children get lost.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that then. But so I realize now that there's no way for me to get out. So I had to like dig some steps so that I could get out. But I still wanted the hole to be deeper.
Yeah.
And some like 5-year-old kid comes up to us, or 8, I don't know. A little kid comes up, and he's admiring the hole that I've dug.
Is this while the show is going on?
No, this is during the day.
Oh, okay. This is just at the beach.
Yes.
Okay.
So he's admiring this very large hole that I've dug. And
what a hole!
Wow, what a hole! I realize that I could put this kid down there and have him dig it deeper. And
so you
I didn't. John Tice was like, "No, you can't do that."
Okay, I was gonna say, so you forced this kid into child labor?
Yeah, I was about to make a kid dig a hole for me. Luckily, it didn't happen. That would have probably been real bad. So anyway, that's Jones Beach. That was my number 6.
No, you can't put a kid down there and dig your hole for you. So it's funny that Weezer is your number 6, because Weezer is also my number 6.
Ooh.
This is actually another recent one. This is when I went and I saw Weezer with the Flaming Lips and Dinosaur Jr. Last year at Madison Square Garden.
I didn't know they were there too.
Yeah, it was a trip, and this was for the Journey to the Blue Planet, the Blue album, like 20 or 30 year anniversary show or whatever, or tour, whatever it was. But when my wife and I first saw it was announced, we were like, holy shit, like, and they're playing Madison Square Garden, like, we have to go. And I had never seen Weezer live before. I just never had the opportunity. And I've always loved, Weezer, especially the Blue Album. It was like one of the first albums that kind of got me into, all of this music that I love today. The fact that the Flaming Lips were on the bill too, which was just an even bigger, huge plus for us. And then when we saw that Dinosaur Jr. was on, they were like, no way. Like, what year is this? I can't believe Dinosaur Jr. is still playing. That's wild. Because they used to tour with Weezer like all the time back in the day. And yeah, what a killer experience. Dinosaur Jr. sounded exactly as they did way back in like back then. They looked significantly older now.
Yeah. Jay Mascis has a big gray beard.
Oh yeah, wild. And then Flaming Lips, it's like impossible for them to put on a shitty live show. Like, Wayne is always amazing as a frontman, and between the lights and all of the stage props and the inflatables and
the big hands.
Yeah, just everything is incredible about their stage shows. So that was phenomenal. But Weezer, like, it was sick. They themed their entire set as if they're like blasting off from Earth in this spaceship and then traveling through space to get to the Blue Planet. And instead of just like playing the Blue Album start to finish and then playing like other hits after the fact, what they did was they played like, they grouped all of their other hits together in various like sections based on like album and like time periods and stuff, and then like thematically like incorporated that into their journey. Like, the ship like stalls out and they get stranded on this other random planet, and then they played like a bunch of songs off of one of their other albums and stuff. And then finally, when they finally get to the Blue Planet, that's when they started the album start to finish. And then when they finished the very last song on the album, that was it. There was no encore. The show just ended. They got off stage and the experience was done. It was wild, but it was so powerful for me to see all these songs that Weezer and the Blue Album was like one of the first albums and bands that really got me into all of the genres of music that I listen to today and back then. So to like hear those songs live finally after all of these years for the first time was like so powerful for me to like hear them and see them being performed by the band themselves. And it was such a dope experience, and I'm so happy we went. And I'll probably go see them again if they play in the future. But I mean, nothing will top being able to hear them play the Blue Album start to finish.
So, what's your Matt Sharp opinion?
Matt Sharp. I don't really have an opinion. I mean, they were really good live. Like, they were sick.
Matt Sharp was the original bassist.
I know, but
he was on the 2 really good albums.
Yeah, but
then after that, they were not as good because Matt Sharp wasn't there.
But when they played live, it sounded phenomenal.
Yeah, no, Scott is a phenomenal bassist. I don't even know if there's really anything with the Matt Sharp thing. I'll just die on that hill because I love Matt Sharp and I love those first 2 Weezer albums.
Oh no, but see, and that's the thing. Like, for me, those are my those are my 2 favorite albums. And then, like, yes, there are songs that are catchy that I can enjoy off of their later albums, but like nothing will ever touch the magic that like the Blue Album and like Pinkerton had, at least for me,
and for just about everyone else.
You know, exactly, yeah. And I think that's why that tour was just so phenomenal, was because it was specifically for the Blue Album.
I got a lot of crap, you know, for my Matt Sharp video that I put out with people, you know, all mad because somebody prefers Mikey, even though he was only on the Green Album, or somebody prefers Scott because he's been here for all this time. And there's no wrong answer, man. Whichever one you like is fine. But I think that Matt Sharp's the best, and I'm sticking with it. Yeah,
but that's like your opinion, man.
I know, but it's my channel.
Yeah, no, I know, and but that's my point. It's just your opinion. Like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Like,
if I made my videos thinking like about what everyone else thinks the whole time, one, they'd be really boring, but two, they'd be like 400 hours, so that I could go over any angle that someone cares about, you know?
Yeah.
So, with your opinion, you're gonna bum someone else out for sure, but you're also gonna not bum someone else.
Yeah, but anyone that you bum out, they just need to go and touch grass, really.
Well, the Matt
grass.
The Matt Sharp one has some of the most comments because people get so heated about the whole Matt Sharp thing, and then a lot of people, I guess,
I'll just start making a bunch of comments specifically on that one video, but they'll be completely unrelated to music. It'll be like, hey, today I had a ham sandwich.
I guess he, I haven't looked any of this up, so I can't say that it's true or it isn't, but he apparently...
But that's how the internet works. You have to declare everything that you say is true, sure, and then give no, like, reference or proof or evidence whatsoever.
I think he married someone that was young. I think he said something racist. I'm like, if that's true, if those are true, these are terrible things.
I mean, didn't Anthony Kiedis do the same thing? And he's still...
but he sucks.
Have you heard what's going on with the Smiths?
Well, I mean, Morrissey sucks too. All these people suck.
That's so weird. I'm not a fan.
But when Matt Sharp was in Weezer, he wasn't married to a young person and he wasn't saying racist things. So I'll just pretend that after Pinkerton.
But see, but you're not talking about, when you talk about Matt Sharp, you're not talking about him as a person. You're talking about him as a musician, as the person who played bass on those albums, and how it sounds in comparison to bass on albums after he was no longer with the band.
And I think that a lot of the music that you love, and some of the music that I love, and all the bands that we played with when we were in bands, I think without Pinkerton, that whole scene is radically different. Pinkerton is one of the things...
Yeah, it was super influential.
That creates that style of music.
Yeah.
So.
Restekba.
Indeed. RESTEC or whatever.
That brings us to number 5.
Number 5. Holy shit. This is going to be a long video. Okay. Number 5. Number 5 for me is Blink-182, Madison Square Garden, Manhattan, May 19th, 2023. I talk about Blink-182 all the time.
I also remember you talking about specifically seeing this show, too.
Any show. I thought of a whole bunch of different shows that I've seen. The one at Jones Beach was really important for me. There was one way back in the day when they were touring on Enema of the State, where they played, what's that place called? Waterloo in Jersey. I think that's still Jersey. But they played Waterloo, and I think Bad Religion and maybe the Ataris opened for them. That was a really cool show. There was one that I went to with Joey where they were playing Jones Beach again when Matt Skiba
Did you dig a hole?
I didn't dig a hole, but we did see a pickup truck
that
had a porta potty that was in the bed and like strapped down, you know, so that you could use your porta potty in the pickup truck.
Nice.
But so anyway, I've seen Blink-182 so many times.
Yeah.
Every single one is the best time. But specifically, this show in 2023 is the first tour they did after Tom came back.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've loved them since Dude Ranch came out. Tom has come and gone a handful of times. But after Matt Skiba replaced him, it just seemed like that was it. Like, we're never getting Tom again. So to have Tom come back was so exciting. So that was awesome. It was really cool. They even played at least one of the Matt Skiba era songs. I was really curious, like, are they going to play Bored to Death? Will Tom sing a Matt Skiba song? Will he play guitar for a Matt Skiba song? And he did. He was really cool about it.
Interesting.
And
did he sound like Matt Skiba?
No, he sounds like Tom.
Did Matt Skiba sound like Tom when he did any of Tom's stuff?
No. Not at all.
Did Mark sound like Mark?
Mark always sounds like Mark. Well, so
that's disappointing.
I love all of these dudes, but Tom is pretty bad live. Matt Skiba is usually pretty bad live. Honestly, Mark is usually pretty bad live. Travis Barker is
get
a god.
Better, Tom, Matt, get better.
No, just keep doing your thing. You're the best. I don't care.
Touch grass.
They are the best. And that particular show, I spent an ungodly amount of money to sit on the floor in Madison Square Garden because that show was so important to me. I was like, fuck this. I'm getting really great seats. I don't remember what I spent. Way too much. But it was totally worth it. They were totally awesome. Blink-182 is the best. I could probably just do 2 hours of talking about how much I love Blink-182.
What did they wear?
Well, I kind of remember them being nude.
Were they in a pool?
Well, that's where you take your clothes off. I think. Well, that's where I take my clothes off. You usually do it at Wendy's.
Yes, this is true. I am the original guy that, sir, this is a Wendy's. That started with me. It's because I wear sweaters underneath all of my shirts.
No one can tell. So anyway, that's 5. Blink-182, Madison Square Garden. Totally awesome.
So my 5 is actually technically a throwback to my number 6, but my number 5 is the Flaming Lips at Jam on the River Fest in Philadelphia. And this was, I think, in like 2007. And this was the first time I had ever seen Flaming Lips live. I had no idea what to expect. I did not know what I was in for.
Did you listen to them already?
Oh yeah, no, I knew all of their songs. I knew what they sounded like. I just had no idea what their live show was. Not gonna lie, on the way there, we definitely had some of the Devil's Lettuce.
Yeah, I've heard this story.
As we did once we got there and we're waiting for them to play. So I think that just kind of like amplified the experience like times 1,000. But seeing them with Weezer not under that influence didn't really change anything about the experience at all. Like, it's still just as phenomenal regardless. They opened this set with Do You Realize, and being hit with that, like, it was like the whole stage was just like behind them was a wall of the bright lights. So as soon as the song kicks, it's just this giant block of bright ass lights practically blinding you. Like, it was so bright that like I could feel it in my chest, and the next thing I know, Wayne is crawling around on top of the crowd in that giant inflatable hamster ball that he used to crawl around in a lot live, that I didn't know was a thing until I'd seen them the first time, but I guess everyone else was like expecting it. So for me, as a first timer who's like slightly, in a different mindset, just being hit with those lights, seeing him crawl around it like blew me away. It took my breath away. At one point, they had a whole bunch of like young like school children on stage, but they were all wearing Spider-Man outfits. It was intense. It was phenomenal. It was easily one of the best live shows I've ever witnessed in my life. And like I said, seeing them with Weezer, it was pretty much a lot of the same vibe with a lot of the inflatables that they had during that tour and stuff. Just super, super entertaining, like absolutely worth, the experience, not just hearing, the music that you enjoy, but physically being there to like see and experience this all like firsthand in person was just absolutely mind-blowing. And ever since then, like, I've wanted to see the Flaming Lips live again. So when the opportunity presented itself to see them with Weezer of all people, I was like, oh well, this is absolutely a given. I have to do that.
Yep.
It was sick. It was. I don't even think we saw any other bands. I think we showed up specifically right before they played, saw them, got back in the car, and drove back home from Philly. It was so good though.
They are always good.
Children in Spider-Man costumes,
and their live show. I mean, sometimes they add to it, but
yeah,
it's been the same show in the coolest way that something could never change. You know, it's just, you know what you're getting yourself into.
I was even watching. I forget if it was like something on Instagram or. I forget where I was watching it, but I was watching. It looked like some sort of documentary, but it was like Wayne talking about Yoshime and how she's like actually a real person that like he had met. She's like this like musical performance artist in Japan, notably known for like her wild screams. I got like this thing I was watching showed like clips of her like on stage with them performing some of their various songs and her doing her scream. It was just wild to see, and so like awesome to kind of like finally discover some of that like backstory into like where some of this stuff came from and how he like developed the ideas for some of these wild songs that are so hugely popular and massive hits.
They're one of the best.
They really are.
Number 4 is Paul McCartney, Madison Square Garden, so in Manhattan, April 27th, 2002.
A whole bunch of Madison Square Gardens.
Yeah, well, you know,
between the two of us,
it's here, so we might as well go to it. So that's my first time seeing Paul McCartney. It's the Driving Rain tour, so that's like
allegedly.
Yeah, probably. Maybe I saw him before that.
Well, no, I meant, you know, just in case it's not Paul McCartney.
Oh, yeah, because it's fake Paul. Maybe. Anyway, whatever. It still is the same Paul from a long time ago.
Yes.
Whether it's first or second Paul, I saw Paul McCartney.
You saw a Paul McCartney.
But, you know, the Beatles are one of my favorite bands. Paul McCartney is one of my 3 heroes.
Yeah.
So seeing Paul McCartney for the first time was great. You know, he was still relatively young in 2002. George Harrison had just recently died. He did a you know, some stuff honoring George that was cool. He was playing that Freedom song because it was, you know, you're only like 6 months out from 9/11 or something
yeah.
So everyone was I don't know what the right word is. They weren't stoked about, you know, him having to play that song, but you're in New York. It's powerful.
Yeah, it was powerful. No, I feel you.
And we had really good seats. You know, not quite on the floor, but not that far away. And for me, it's just place and time. That was when Hidden in Plain View was recording Operation Cutthroat. So I don't remember like if we had just finished it or if I like left the studio to.
Was that 20 Below?
No, that's the Drive 3P had 20 Below.
Oh, okay.
Cutthroat was an American classic, and
right.
Other songs. But we did that. We spent actually a long time. We spent like 2 weeks on that or something, which is nuts. But we did that at Big Blue in Jersey City. Mm-hmm. And I just remember Jay Cantor, the engineer producer, and the other guys in Hidden in Plain View. Everybody was, you know, I'm so stoked that I'm going to see Paul McCartney, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's so lame. Like Paul McCartney's lame. The Beatles are lame." And then they were like, "And he's so old," and it's like, how old was he really then? You know, is that what, over 20 years ago? He was probably in his 50s.
Yeah,
like he wasn't that old, but he was. The
still, majority of the musicians that most people are seeing live today are all in their 50s or older.
No, he was 100% as good still as Paul McCartney ever was. Mm-hmm. It was an incredible show. I've seen him a bunch of times since, but the first will always be the best.
Hell yeah.
That's my number 4.
Nice. My number 4 was just 2 years ago. It was in 2023, and it was Just Surrender, which is Jolly's band, with I Am the Pilot and some other local openers. But it was at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, and the reason why this made the list was this was one of the final shows at the Chance before it closed down for good, because some development company bought like the building and property and stuff, and they claim that they're going to like do some remodeling and renovations, and they're going to apparently reopen it as a music venue again once the remodeling is done. But everyone, you just kind of have to take this like development company's word for it. That whole area is just being gentrified a lot.
You can stick your head up a cow's ass, but I'd take the butcher's word for it.
Schnikes. So it was basically like a Hudson Valley punk rock high school reunion. It was just so many different people that were a part of the Hudson Valley music scene for like the previous like 2+ decades, around that subgenre, that all just came together, to see Just Surrender play and, reminisce about shenanigans and various shows that we had all either played or attended or seen. So, it was a really cool send off for the venue. And being able to like share it with friends that like I had kind of like grown up with over the last like 2 decades, of playing music there, was kind of special in a sense, and awesome to be able to like really give it one last hurrah just in case it doesn't reopen as a music venue in the future.
Did we ever play there together?
I honestly can't remember. You have said that we have before.
John Connor definitely did,
but I don't remember if we might have, and I have
been before
my memory is not what it used to be. So it could have been either before or after or during, but I don't have the memory for it. I feel like I would have remembered, because for the longest time, like before I really started getting into music, when I first started going to shows up there, like all I wanted to do was be able to play the Chance, because it was such a cool venue, and the old MC Chuck was just the most delightful dude. It always felt like an honor to have him like intro your band anytime you would play there. So like that was something that I really wanted. So I feel like I would have remembered it, but maybe we did, and I just don't remember for some really unfortunate reason. I mean, I had played, in the other, because there was the upstairs, which was the Loft, then there was the downstairs, which was Club Crannel, and then like the main area was the Chance, and I had played everywhere but the Chance.
I think I played all of them. I think I played there a handful of times at Hidden in Plainview.
Maybe we did then.
John Connor, I don't think we played the big room.
Yeah, see, I would have remembered. I feel like I would have remembered. I
seem to remember at least once in one of the bands playing a tiny room where there's like a little stage in the window.
Yeah, that was Club Crannel. That was like the bar on the lower level. It was on the street side.
I think that might have been the first time with Hidden in Plainview.
Yeah.
Because I kind of remember playing drums. But I also think that one of the last Hidden in Plainview shows I did was at the Chance.
Such a great venue. I mean, it definitely fell into kind of disrepair towards the end there.
Just like all of upstate New York.
Yeah, I know. But I still have my fingers crossed that in the hopefully somewhat near future, it will come back with new revitalized life for a new generation of musicians and music scene to really take off and thrive.
Probably not.
I'm gonna put the optimism out there and hope for the best. I'm a glass half there kind of person.
Indeed you are.
So that's my number 4.
I cheated a little bit on this one.
You would.
I did. So this would be Nofx, Paramount Theater in Brooklyn, July 12th through 14th, 2024. So they played 3 nights in Brooklyn.
And you were there all
I
3
went
nights,
to
right?
all 3 nights because it's their final tour. This is arguably either them or Blink-182 are my favorite punk rock band of all time. I had seen Nofx so many times. I had to go to all 3 nights.
Was their set the same all 3 nights?
No, so it
Well, at least that's something.
it was like one big show. All 3 shows, they never repeated songs. Each night they played 3 albums in full. So they played 9 albums over 3 nights.
Wow.
Plus other additional songs. It was just incredible to...
Did they announce prior when they would be playing what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So at least like if you wanted to hear something specific, like you knew ahead of time what date you wanted to go to.
Jimmy went to all of the shows as well.
Yeah.
Yanni came for one night. Adam was there for a night. Michelle was with me for 2 of the nights, and my mom was there for a night. But everyone that wasn't there for all the nights sort of went for whatever night was the albums they wanted to see. You know, with Nofx,
Nofx.
you never know what you're getting with them because whatever version of Mike is on stage that night. And those 3 nights, Mike must have been his version of sober because he was coherent and playing really well and singing really well. And it was so awesome to have the final time that I'm going to see Nofx, to have them be just flawless.
Now, do you think that that's really going to be the final time you're going to see Nofx?
I have no idea. You know, it's all speculation. I at some point, someone's money will run out. And I think the only thing that brings Nofx back together is if Mike wants to. That's really it.
Yeah.
I'd imagine, as far as I know, I don't know that there's any confirmation on any of it. As far as I know, they stopped playing because Mike didn't want to anymore.
Yeah, he my understanding was he was retiring or whatever.
But I'd imagine that being in a band with Mike, regardless of how brilliant he is, I'm sure it gets pretty intense and it's very taxing. You know, having to deal with his antics all the time. I think as the 3 dudes in the band, this is their livelihood.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they were not the most bummed to not have to do that ever again. So, who knows? But anyway, 3 nights in Brooklyn, Nofx. It was awesome. I got to see The Decline for the last time.
Nice. What was your favorite song that they played?
It's always The Decline. It was...
Would you have been angry if they had not played that one song?
No, because that's, like an 18-minute song. They would have played like 6 other songs. You want me to say I would be angry? I would have been so angry.
What if their entire set was just The Decline over and over again?
Sold.
What if it was not them playing it, though?
They did bring other people on stage to play it with them.
But what if it was like complete random, like strangers playing The Decline over and over and over again for a full hour? Would you go see that set?
No, then we riot.
Even if it's in Greek?
Count backwards in Greek.
Sweet. Yeah, no, when you guys first told me that you guys were going for all 3 days, I was like, that sounds exhausting.
It was exhausting. And I got COVID.
The gift that keeps on giving.
Totally worth it.
But yeah, no, if they played each night not repeating any songs, that's pretty cool. Especially, you know, letting fans know what their set lists were going to be prior, you know, so that way you can, you know, if you're not going for all 3 nights, you can choose, well, I want to hear these songs, so I'm just going to go for that date.
Can you imagine knowing that many songs?
As a professional, I'm going to say yes.
As a retired semi-professional, I always had a hard time remembering like a dozen songs. I'm terrible at that. You used to have to cover me because I would forget lyrics that I had been singing for months.
What do you mean used to?
Well,
I still do.
Yeah, but we used to do it every night.
Oh, well, not every night, but often.
That's just not... I can remember how to play
well, I mean, yeah, it's
stuff, but lyrics, gone. Trying to remember 3 nights worth of lyrics, I would not stand a chance.
Well, so I think I want to say the difference is with playing, it's muscle memory, whereas your muscles don't remember you saying words. Maybe singing notes, but definitely not saying words. So there's really no muscle memory in anything lyrical.
And I'm also always drifting. You know, I'm standing there, I'm playing,
But falling asleep at the same time?
no, I'm like, oh, look at that kid. What's he doing?
No, I do that all the time. I have to constantly try and make sure I'm staying focused. Otherwise, I start drifting, and then on next thing I know, I'm like saying the things I'm looking at out loud instead of the lyrics.
And so that is why I could not play 3 nights. I probably couldn't play 1 night.
I could do one night
All right, 1 night.
and then die immediately afterwards. So my number 3 is Big D and the Kids Table with the River City Rebels and then some like local opener. But this was at Club Static in Monroe, New York, and Club Static obviously is not there anymore. It was only there for a very brief time.
Where is Monroe?
It's like the Woodbury Commons. That's Monroe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this was like 2001, I believe, ish. It was around 2001.
Was that that was by Nada?
No, Nada's up by Newburgh.
Yeah, they're not that far apart.
No, Nada's like, I want to say at least another 20 minutes or so from Monroe.
That's the same area, man.
Well, I mean, it's from here. It's like Nada's like.
Well, anyway,
45 minutes, but-
there was. I kind of remember the venue being like gray and blue, and there was a long bar that went up the side, and then a small stage at the end, and then the bathrooms were like just to the left of the stage. Is this the right place?
Did it look super retro with like mirrors and disco balls and
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, I think so.
I think it might have been the same place. Yeah, because it was like an old like dance club that this dude like did some like minor renovations and then like opened it up as like a local music venue and had some fairly bigger acts come through this like tiny venue. But I think because it was in Monroe, I think it was just like location just didn't work and didn't really draw the crowds that he was hoping it would. And I guess touring acts just stopped wanting to book with him because ticket sales were just not what they should have been. And then ultimately it closed, and I forget what it became, but
I saw the Ataris on the Blue Skies tour with Smack and Isaiah opening for them.
nice at that venue.
Yep.
Nice. So yeah, no. So this was my first real ska show, and
Not your last.
not my last. And I mean, I had seen a ska band before that, but I'll get into that when we get to that show. But this was my first real ska show where like everything was all about, you know, the ska bands and stuff like that. And it was my first experience with skanking in the circle pit, which was dope. Me wearing my baggy Levi's with my Converse, and I forgot what else I was wearing. I don't know, but it was just. I'd been listening to Big D for.
You must have been like 15 or 16.
2001. Yeah, I was like 16, 17. Yeah, it wasn't where I fell in love with ska, but it's where ska finally got like its real hooks in me, and it was just dope seeing such fun bands at this like shitty hole in the wall venue. Yeah, it was just sick because it was like the first ska show I really actually attended for my 40th birthday just this last April. I thought it'd be sweet if I went to go see Big D again because I just hadn't seen them since that no, I saw them one other time at either Warped Tour or Bamboozle, I forget what, but it was down in Asbury. It was one of the summer festivals. I'd seen them there after that, but I hadn't seen them since.
I saw them once.
Yeah, where?
At a Skanksgiving.
Oh, at Skanksgiving, really?
At Starland.
Starland, that's awesome.
I went for Goldfinger.
So yeah, because I haven't seen them in like over 20 years, I was like, what better way to celebrate my 40th birthday than to go see Big D and the Kids Table on my 40th birthday, actually on my birthday, who, as it turns out, I share my birthday with Big D's bassist, Ben. Yeah, so he was having like a birthday bash up at Unicorn Bar in Kingston, which is like a up and coming venue, like local venue of sorts.
Isn't that like hours and hours away from here?
No, it's Kingston. It was like just under an hour. It's just past Newburgh. It's just past Napa.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that was dope. It was just Big D and the kids. It was Planet Smashers and then Big D and the kids table, and that was it. And it was just a super fun ska night to celebrate, my 40th birthday and Ben's birthday as well, which was sweet. So yeah, seeing Big D with River City Rebels back at Club Static as like one of my first ska shows, that kind of like ushered me into my true love of ska music, will always hold a special place in my heart.
Awesome.
That's my number 3.
Well, this is bound to happen at some point. Number 2, The Flaming Lips, Terminal 5, Manhattan,
Ooh,
March
nice.
9th, 2017. This is my first time seeing The Flaming Lips. I've loved The Flaming Lips since She Don't Use Jelly came out in like 1993. Mm-hmm. That was when I first got into The Flaming Lips, and I loved them the whole time, but somehow I never managed to see them live. And, I had seen clips of them live and whatever. Always wanted to go. So he does he wears the big hands.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, I always had this like daydream where my hand got really big. And like I can still think about it and like feel this giant hand. Mm-hmm. There was that Foo Fighters video where he gets the big giant hand. I always loved that because of the big giant hand. But I always wanted to see The Flaming Lips, other than because I wanted to, but because I wanted to see that big giant hand.
It sounds like an album title if I've ever heard one.
That big giant hand?
Big giant hand.
So, as you have said while we've been talking about The Flaming Lips, they are incredible live.
Undeniably.
So, that was Michelle and I at Terminal 5. We're both huge Flaming Lips fans. I, as an atheist, this is a weird thing to say, but I think that the Flaming Lips live is the closest thing that I could possibly imagine coming to a religious experience. It's like you feel like you're floating, like you're out of your body, and it's surreal. Their show there's nothing to compare it to. Their set was phenomenal. Their stage is phenomenal. They're phenomenal. It was just a really good time. They didn't disappoint.
Seeing them live feels like what looking at a kaleidoscope looks like.
Yeah, that checks out. I would say that like even though they're not my best show, that's their number 2. Mm-hmm. I would say that if there's one band that everyone should see while they still can, it's The Flaming Lips. I don't think that.
Oh hell yeah!
I don't think anyone could experience something better just than that. That's as good as it gets.
No, I absolutely agree.
It was tough to have you mention them several times, knowing that I was going to also mention them.
But like we've both stated, like there's just an undeniably phenomenal music group to go see live. So my number 2 is you mentioned like the first ever like real like punk rock show you ever went to. So my number 2 is my first ever like show that wasn't like something silly like the Bare Naked Ladies, because that was my actual first concert.
Oh God!
With Guster. It was at Madison Square Garden. Anyway, so my number 2 was Thursday with Saves the Day, Hey Mercedes, and The Anniversary.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and this was at Club Chrome in Old Bridge, New Jersey, and this was in like 2000, I think. I was going specifically for Save the Day. At the time, I was obsessed with their album Stay Gold. I know everyone's always about Through Being Cool and or not Stay Gold, Stay What You Are. I know everyone's always obsessed with Through Being Cool and the one before that.
I don't know. I don't really care.
Yeah, people are gonna hate in the comments that I can't remember.
I liked Through Being Cool.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
But I'm not going to listen to it now.
Oh, I know. Well, I listened to it for nostalgia and stuff. I was obsessed with that album back then. So I was super stoked when some friends of mine were like, we want to go see, Thursday and Saves the Day. Would you want to come? And I was like, yo, absolutely, get me a ticket. Restekpa. So we drove all the way down to Old Bridge, New Jersey, to this crappy, super sketchy looking standalone building that was called Club Chrome. It did not look safe.
It was not safe.
It was not safe. The venue eventually closed down because
one or two or three little shootings or stabbings.
Yeah, there was like a shooting or something, so it eventually closed. I don't remember much of the anniversary or Hey Mercedes sets other than they were really good. But Saves the Day was everything I had hoped and dreamt they were going to be. And then because I wasn't super familiar with Thursday yet at that time, seeing them live without really listening to a lot of their music first totally caught me off guard. And it was such a great addition to my experience was seeing them, because I think it was right after one of their albums had dropped too. I was just talking about...
If it was 2000, it must have been before Full Collapse, right?
I think so.
They had the album before that. I don't remember what it's called.
Or no, maybe I think Full Collapse was coming out, so they played some of the tracks off of it to hype people for the upcoming album, because I definitely remember some of those songs being played. But yeah, no, that was seeing them live back then was sick. And then when my wife and I, Amanda, when we went and we saw them back in January, 20 years later, it was as if they just kind of picked up right where they left off and continued to just kick some serious ass. And then they had What's His Face from Alexis on Fire playing guitar with them as well, which was an interesting surprise to see. And then as it turns out, he also has a side project with one of the actors from that show, The Bear, which is pretty funny. It's like a hardcore band. And you see that you see the actor and you're like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. He would totally be in a hardcore band. He's a big dude with tats and stuff like that, but he's goofy.
Did you ever hang out with Jeff Rickley with me?
No, I saw he used to come to Nyack all the time, so I would see him on the street and stuff like that. But I never hung out with him with you.
Not that I'm super cool and super tight with Jeff Rickley, but we both grew up in Dumont.
No, I know, yeah.
Went to Dumont High School, and then we were friendly. And when he was in Thursday, I was in Hidden in Plainview. We did a handful of shows together, and and any time I would be where he also was, we would hang out, in whatever way people do that. But that's one of those things that because I have known so many people over the years, that there's been people that I've just known as guy that I went to high school with, guy that I was in Pensy Prep with, but that these people are giants to other people.
Yeah.
So it's always weird when
we're all only human, really.
Yeah, well...
People have to remember that.
Mostly.
The most human.
Human.
Yeah, so having that be my first real show was such a stellar one for it to have been my first. And I think I still have my ticket stub for that show, too, somewhere in my box of memories. So that's my number 2.
So Club Chrome, I played there a bunch of times.
I saw it was after you had left the band, but I saw Hidden in Plainview there at least twice. We went to go see Mike.
Nice.
And that place sucked.
My favorite time playing there was not with Hidden in Plainview. It was when I was in Payday, long before Hidden in Plainview.
With Joel?
Yes, with Joel. We were playing the big room. It was us and Random Task and some other bands.
There was more than one room?
Yeah, there was the side room as well.
Oh, weird. I only ever remember there being the one main big room.
Well, Payday should not have been in the big room.
Oh, yeah.
It was wacky. There was no one there. But we had a song called Ska Band about how we used to be a ska band and we sucked at it. and so we're not going to do that anymore.
Okay.
And there was a dude at the show that we all decided was called Angry Ska Guy. He came running to the stage while we were playing this song and just shouting and pointing and getting all butthurt because he loved ska so much and he thought we were making fun of ska. And even if we were making fun of ska, get over it, dude. But I don't really remember what went down, but I think Yanni had to, like, you know, bouncer the guy because he was, like, so bent out of shape that he's, like, yelling at us and we're yelling down at him. Like, hey, ska sucks, buddy, and you suck. Yanni, take care of this guy.
Ska doesn't suck.
That's my Chrome memory that I like the most. Oh, another good Chrome memory. Playing there in Hidden in Plain View. I think we were on tour with you early November. That was back when everybody had sidekicks.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to describe what a sidekick was to Amanda the other day, and she was like, I don't get it. And I was like, Jolly had one.
Yeah, everyone cool had one. Dennis had one. Jude had one.
Ugh.
While we were on stage playing, Chris Amato was using his sidekick between songs.
Just on AOL Instant Messenger,
I guess
just
now,
like messaging people.
Now that wouldn't even be that weird because everyone is so addicted to their phone.
Yeah, well, but even now, like, I don't think I've ever seen someone like diddling around on their smartphone.
You know, it's like in between songs, Chris is getting out his sidekick, and we're like, "Yo, dude, can we play the next song?"
Changing his away message.
So that was a fun.
Changing his away message to the lyrics of the next song you guys are playing.
Yeah, it is what it is. I actually saw. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like the same tour that you saw, but with different bands, because it was like the same year-ish. And the tour that I saw was Dashboard, Saves the Day, the Anniversary, and Hot Rod Circuit.
Ooh.
That was an awesome show. That was the first show that was Irving Plaza. It was the first show that I took Jonathan to. So if I was like 20, he was like 14. So that was, you know, his Green Day Dookie tour experience. I don't think any of us knew who Dashboard was.
Did you tell Jonathan he couldn't mosh?
No, I probably would have let him mosh. I bet
but
Jonathan,
not your mom.
No, I bet Jonathan has never moshed in his entire life.
Probably.
That just doesn't seem like his bag, man.
No, I bet he has. I bet he's thrown a windmill or two in jest.
So anyway, that was a great show. Slightly different from yours, but almost the same. So before we get to number one, let's do our favorite shows that we played. So my favorite show that I've ever played. This was tough because I've played a lot of shows.
This was tough, yeah.
I've played bigger shows than this one. I've played more fun shows than this one. I've played shows where there were people there for my band more. I don't know why. Well, I guess I do. But this one show, just in particular, has always stood out. So it was when I was in Hidden in Plainview. After we were announced on Drive-Thru, but I think before we put anything out. So Hidden in Plainview at the Norva in Virginia Beach, May 5th, 2003.
I heard that was an amazing venue.
We opened for MXPX.
Oh, wow.
And MXPX is one of my favorite, pop punk bands ever.
Yeah.
And getting to play with them, it wasn't a tour. We just played, we were on tour and got this like one-off show.
Yeah.
So playing with MXPX was awesome. The Norva is straight up just the best venue in the country. There's a couple other awesome venues like the Metro in Chicago and whatever, but the Norva is an awesome venue, but has the coolest backstage. It's essentially where the Foot Clan hangs out.
So it's like...
I don't know that there really is half pipes, but in my head it's just all the stuff from that first Ninja Turtles movie. So there's half pipes. There's all the
it's like a warehouse, like illegal arcade.
Yeah, there's arcade games. I don't know. There was showers and beds and internet at the time. What did I say? 2003. Internet was hard to come by back then. I think only Joe Rio and I even had laptops. whoever owned or ran the place made food.
Oh,
instead of,
really?
like ordering food. So there was all sorts of food, television, couches, everything was clean. It was just the dopest experience to play the Norva.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard.
But for me, that show was so awesome because, as you know, and I think I've said on the channel a handful of times, I never really enjoyed being part of Hidden in Plainview. Mm-hmm. I didn't really dig the music. It's not my style. I like fat records, not drive-through. It's a different kind of punk rock. So it was never my jam. As we progressed, I started to feel worse and worse as more people liked the band because I felt guilty. I felt like I was lying to the people that we were playing for because, I'm playing drums and having a great time and selling this experience to these kids that are coming to see us. Meanwhile, I feel like I'm lying to them and ripping them off. I had gotten pretty grumpy at that point. And for whatever reason, when we were playing the Norva, you got a few thousand people there having a great time while you're playing. And it just got to me that day. And a couple things, like I was throwing sticks into the crowd, and everyone's like, oh my God, and grabbing sticks and thinking that it's so cool. And then they were so stoked when we were done playing. I jumped off the stage to where the barricade was with all the bouncers and everything. And I'm just high-fiving all these kids. And I just totally let myself go and indulge in the experience. Which, look, that's cool. I should have done it more, but I was a dumb kid. But after that, I got backstage and realized what I had did. And I felt so grossed out. I felt like such a sellout. You
felt bad for enjoying yourself and having a good time?
Yeah, because I fully lived the lie then. It's like every single kid that I high-fived, I basically, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I lied to every single one of them. And it just ate away at me. And that was one of the first biggest things that led to me leaving was that I felt like a fraud and a liar, and I just couldn't keep playing music to people that I didn't believe in. And so that was my big thing at the Norva, was this massive divide of having the most fun I've ever had playing a show to then realizing that it was so awful that I had to quit the band that I had worked so hard to get to where we were. Finally got everything I wanted, and fuck that, I gotta leave. So that was my favorite show that I've ever played.
Sweet.
How about you?
So my favorite show that I've ever played is pretty much like a very, very, very similar situation. I've definitely played bigger shows than this. I've played to bigger crowds than this. I've played shows that I had way more fun. But my favorite show that I came up with, that was my favorite that I had played, was when we were on tour with Madison, and it was Madison, us, and Guns Like Girls, and we played the brewery in Raleigh, North Carolina, back in 2005 with Elisana and the Receiving End of Sirens.
Oh, yeah.
And we had no idea.
Did Race the Sun play?
No.
Was that the band from there?
What?
Race the Sun?
From Carolina?
Yeah, we stayed at their house.
No, we didn't stay at. No, we stayed at like some friends of Madison's or something like that. Madison.
No, it wasn't. It was
Mo.
a different band. It wasn't Raise the Sun.
I don't think they were a band though.
No, well, regardless, there was a band from there that we were all friends with, but it was not Raise the Sun. It was someone else. Anyway. Sorry.
Well, no, we knew ahead of time that we would be playing with Elisana, and they weren't on the tour with us. But what we didn't know until like we got there was that Receiving End of Sirens was also going to be playing this show. And at that time, I was absolutely obsessed with the Receiving End of Sirens. I mean, I still love both of the albums that they put out. So I was super, super stoked to be playing a show with them on this bill. And like I said, I mean, since then I've played shows with bands that I loved in different various iterations. Either I've opened for them or I've played festivals that they've played, but for some reason this is the one that really like hit home the most for me. And the reason why it was even more bizarre than anything was because there was no like lineup. No one knew when anyone was going to play. I think Madison said that, all right, well, we're going to headline, so the rest of you guys figure it out. And I think Alisana said, all right, well, if they're going to headline, then we'll play before them. I think because we had played second the last show, Guns Like Girls said that they were going to play after us for this show. And before we could even say we would open or whatever, Receiving End of Sirens are like, hey, we'll just open. We don't mind. And we were like, what? I remember all of us, we were just like flabbergasted. We were like, no, you guys don't have to open. They're like, no, we don't mind. We'll play and get it over with, and then, we'll jam out, listen to you guys. And we're like, wild. Like, that's crazy. So to have them open for us was like an even more wild experience and like surprise for me at the time. And it was also the first time I'd been able to finally see them live, and it was everything I was hoping it would be. They were phenomenal live. They played all the songs I wanted to hear, and then I remember afterwards, like,
Ashwin. Sorry, that was the name of the band.
Ashwin. That does sound familiar.
3-piece. From Raleigh.
That's whose house we stayed at?
I don't know if that's whose house we stayed at.
I didn't think it was a band's house we stayed at. It was just like some people.
We played shows down there with them, but they would always stay at our house in Dumont.
I remember the band.
Little drummer dude who used to just turn everything into bongs. Yeah. But anyway, I'm pretty sure they were called Ashley.
I remember that band.
Sorry.
But yeah, after we played, I remember the guys from Receiving End of Sirens coming up, and because I had expressed how big of a fan I was, but before the show started and stuff. But I remember that they came up to me afterwards, and they're like, "Dude, you guys were really good. You guys sounded great. Like, hell yeah, dude." And I was like, "Well, what? Like, this band that I absolutely love is telling me like that they liked my set? Like, that's crazy." I mean, plus I was 19 at the time, so like I was still some dumb kid who was like super starstruck. But
were there people at that show? I don't remember.
There was a good crowd. I don't think it was. It wasn't a huge venue either, but there was a decent crowd there. I definitely remember there being people there. But I remember spending the remainder of that night basically just hanging out with the dudes from Receiving End of Sirens, and just like vibing out and hanging out, getting to know them, and just kind of like broing down and whatnot. And like we kept in contact, and I remember they came down because they were playing either Bamboozle or Skate and Surf or Warped Tour, one of the festivals, and they were like, "Yo, are you going to be coming?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you guys are going to be in town, sure, I'll come out." So like I came out with some people and like hung out, and then they played that shitty Club Crannel portion of the Chance at one point. So Jolly and I drove up to go see them, and we like hung out, and that was actually a sick show too.
Did you do the We're Not Worthy?
In my head I did, yeah. I think ultimately, their drummer started after they stopped playing for a while, and their drummer started playing with someone from around here. I forget what band though. But I used to see him from time to time. Fuck. Yeah, I don't remember. But yeah, that was such a unique experience for me. I remember before the show, we went to a thrift store. Good,
because I was going to have to bring it up.
Oh, yeah. No, dude, I'm pretty sure I still have all of that stuff in my closet.
The greatest jacket of all time.
Yeah, I had gotten some, like, sweet, like navy blue, maroon, and, like, beige, like, striped button-down shirt, and some, like, crappy, like, red and black tie. And then this, like, it was very obviously a woman's like denim jacket, but it was like a denim jacket that had like leopard print fur cuffs and like a fur lapel, and I just like turned it into like a stage ensemble basically, where I wore the striped shirt with the tie, and then I think I had this like pair of red like dice pin that I would use as like a tie pin, and then I would wear that underneath this this jacket, and then I had my my
gloves.
my gloves with
The fingerless
the
gloves.
fingerless gloves, and then my my visored beanie, and that was like my stage uniform
That was awesome.
for a shitload of shows we played after that, no matter how hot it got with that jacket on. And I remember everyone constantly saying, how can you play guitar with those gloves on? And I'm like, well, I mean, they're fingerless.
About as good as you can play them without them.
Yeah. So that was the of all of the 6 shows I've played, that was the one that will forever stick out in my mind.
Yeah, I don't remember it that way, but I remember everyone being stoked that those bands were there.
Yeah.
I think I got stuck at the merch booth the entire time. So I remember sitting there at the merch
Well, not
booth
the entire time, because it was my job to immediately
Right.
run to the merch booth as soon as we were done playing, so that way one of us was there, and then you guys would pack my stuff up while I manned the table. Because we lost our merch guy like on day 2 of that tour. He jumped on a train.
It was
And,
actually day 1.
oh, that's right. It was day 1. We didn't even.
He didn't make it one night.
We didn't even get back to the house we were staying at.
No, we did. We got to the house that we were staying at.
And that's when he.
Everyone started taking showers, and he started looking for a way to get home from Delaware. That was where the first show was. Oh, no, Virginia.
That's crazy.
So that was the show where we all had a race to see who could put all the gear in your trailer the fastest. And I was determined that we were going to win the contest. Mm-hmm. And in the moment, my pants came undone.
I do remember this.
And I had no time to stop. So my pants kept going down a little bit more. And I was trying so hard to keep myself as wide as I could so that my pants wouldn't fall down. And then eventually my pants fell down, and I was like, fuck it, I don't care, I'm winning. I didn't have time to stop and fix my pants, but we fucking won, dude.
We did.
That's what's important in life, winning. I also left, I used to have hair.
You did? Yeah.
And I had a very fancy hair straightener that I left in the dressing room of that venue.
Oh, really?
I still think about it right now.
Damn.
All the time.
I think that morning was also the morning at the hotel where I decided to.
No, that was Texas.
Was it Texas? No, but we stay. No, you're right, because we stayed at the hotel that was right by that boot outlet, right? Yeah, cowboy boot outlet. I do remember that. Okay, that was Texas.
The other thing of note from that venue in Raleigh, while it was not that show, we the next time I played there, you were not in the band anymore, and Jolly was in the band.
Yeah,
we were with Day at the Fair. We were on tour with Day at the Fair, and we went out for
Top of the Fair.
Day at the Fair.
Okay.
You know, the drive-through band.
Oh, right. Okay.
And we wanted to all go out and have food after the show, and we found a sit-down Chinese place, and it was fucking awesome. It's
always
the
a good time.
only time I've had
Always
Chinese
a
that
good
was
time.
good, you know, outside of this little bubble of good Chinese food that we live in.
Yeah.
So we all wanted to go just because, but everyone expects Chinese to be terrible. But Raleigh, North Carolina, how could it possibly have good Chinese food?
Yeah.
And it was fucking awesome. For the final reveal,
Favorite show we've
our
attended.
number one favorite show that we've ever been to. For me, my number one show of all time is the Electric Light Orchestra at Irving Plaza in Manhattan, November 20th, 2015. I love ELO. Jeff Lynne, he's my third hero. You know, Paul McCartney, Brian Wilson, Jeff Lynne.
Myrrh.
And then Myrrh. So for basically my entire life, ELO was broken up and never played in the United States. So it was always a band that wasn't even on my bucket list because there was no way to see ELO. They didn't exist. It's like saying you want to see the Beatles. You can't see the Beatles. They don't exist. So November 20th, 2015, I believe it was November 19th, the day before, when ELO announced they were getting back together and they were going to play 2 shows. One at Irving Plaza and another one somewhere in Los Angeles. Irving Plaza just happens to be my favorite venue of all time, but it holds just about 1,000 people. For a band that has many times sold out Madison Square Garden several nights in a row, playing a venue that holds 1,000 people when you haven't played in decades, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And giving the world a day's notice. So it was, at the time, very, very expensive. I think I spent like $1,000. But fuck
Yikes.
it. It's ELO. I'm going. So my mom and I went and saw ELO, and it's Irving Plaza. It was just standing. So we were able to basically stand right there. I was 10 feet away from Jeff Lynne. It was.
Did you touch his ankles?
I would have licked his ankles.
Why didn't you?
Because he had a "don't lick me" guy there.
That's what I need. I need a "don't lick me" guy.
So
Don't lick me, bro.
they were incredible. Greatest show of all time because 1, it should have never happened and it did. 2, I paid so much for it that I have to say it's the best. And
I'm legally obligated by myself to say this is the best due to how much I paid.
3, it's fucking Jeff Lynne, dude.
Yeah, dude.
It was. I've seen them a few times since then. After that they did Madison Square Garden and all that stuff, and they were great every time. But seeing one of the coolest dudes of all time play in such a tiny place is just mind blowing. Great show, great time. My mom dropped the bomb on me that day while we were in line waiting to get in. She looked at me. She said, "Jay, I got to tell you something." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Jeff Lynne's your real father." He's not my real father, but I've been bent out of shape about that ever since. Because now every time I hear ELO, I somehow think that he's my dad, and I'm sad. I wish he would love me, but he doesn't.
Do you wish more that he loved you or that he porked your mom?
Pass. And then after the show, we met Dennis at
A diner?
no.
Interesting.
Well, it's Irving Plaza, so you're in the Village.
There's diners.
Sure. No, we went to an absinthe bar. I can't remember what that place is called.
That's
it's
like
closed
that's
now.
that's the
I think
the
it was on
Village's version of a diner.
I think it was on St. Mark's. It was right across the street from La Palapa.
Oh, yeah. I think I do recall what you were.
I love that place.
Yeah.
Weirdest place ever. It was basically like being in Rocky Horror.
La Palapa is the place that we've been to with you, right?
I don't know, probably.
It's the Mexican restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whatever that...
They had amazing mole there.
Oh, La Palapa's great. But
Amazing mole.
the absinthe bar across the street was great as well. It's no longer there.
Well, I think that's because the absinthe fad has faded.
I think that place was probably there for like 600 years. And they finally closed because all the vampires died. At the time, I wasn't really into absinthe. Since then, I've come around. I usually keep a bottle of absinthe around.
When you came around?
Yes. When I come around, 1994, Nassau Coliseum. So, greatest show ever. Jeff Lynne, Irving Plaza. Respect.
Restekba. So I don't think I've ever told you this, and I think you're gonna find it kind of funny. My favorite show that I've been to of all time was Goldfinger.
All right.
At Manhattan College
Okay.
with Dave Chappelle
Jesus Christ.
in 1999.
Wow.
This was like right after Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out, which is the reason why I became such a big Goldfinger fan. And why, like, honestly, without that game and that soundtrack coming out, I probably wouldn't have gotten into music at all. It sparked my love for music and punk rock and ska and pop punk and emo, everything that I listen to, now and back then is all because of that game. And I know a lot of people in their, mid 30s to mid 40s all have this same experience that, Tony Hawk Pro Skater's soundtrack was like their gateway drug into all of these genres of music. But
I'm going to do a video on Tony Hawk at some point because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Hell yeah. So I was obsessed with Superman. Like, it was just, to me, it was the best song on that album. I mean, also, my love for Suicide Machines is also stemmed from their contributions to that game's soundtrack. Bad Religion, like all of those bands that were on that soundtrack. But Superman, I mean, even to this day, like, it just hits a string that nothing else in my life ever seems to come close to. I remember being so pumped because my group of friends at the time were like, yo, Goldfinger's playing at Manhattan College, should we go? And I was like, yo, count me in. And there was literally no other bands playing. It was just Goldfinger.
And Dave Chappelle.
And then Dave Chappelle.
I mean, that's incredible.
Dude, wild.
Sign me up.
Wild. So, they played a full set. Obviously it was 1999, so they played most of their old stuff. But all of their old, hits and stuff like Here in Your Bedroom, all that stuff.
I think Tony Hawk was 97.
No, it came out in 99.
All right.
I looked it up.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
I looked it up. Also, it was around, it was because of the game came out, and then shortly thereafter, they were trying to, capitalize on that popularity. But, so they ended their set with Superman. And I remember when the song started, I was, singing along every word, and, my friends were like, dude, jump up on stage and sing with them. And I was like, no, who does that? And they were like, lots of people do that, just go do it. So I did it. I was just like, okay, cool. So I jump up on stage and ran over to not John Feldman's mic, but the other microphone that the guitarist or bassist was using, and I just sang the second half of the song with John Feldman, and no one gave a shit. There wasn't even a lot of people there, which was mind-blowing. But no one in the band gave a shit that I was there. They all seemed to dig it. Afterwards, John came over and gave me a high five. He gave me a bunch of guitar picks. That's awesome. I got one of Perry's bass picks, and then the drummer gave me a drumstick. And it actually. So it was. I don't remember. It was either just before or just after Stomping Ground had come out, maybe. I think it was just before Stomping Ground had come out.
Who headlined and who opened?
Well, so it was Goldfinger, and then after Goldfinger was... actually, to be honest, now that I'm remembering, it was Dave Chappelle first. Dave Chappelle came out and did a
baby!
Yeah, no, he did a stand-up set, a half hour or something like that. And then Goldfinger came out and played, because after Goldfinger was done, that was it. We went home. But this was before the majority of Dave Chappelle's fame. I think all he had under his belt, really, as far as mainstream noteworthy stuff, was his cameo.
Men in Tights.
Yeah, well, Men in Tights.
Men in Tights was out.
It was Men in Tights, The Nutty Professor, and then Half Baked. That was it.
Oh man, Half Baked is so good.
Yeah, so the majority of people, he was still fairly unknown unless you had seen those things. So yeah, it was crazy. Even now to think that I was able to see Dave Chappelle at some shitty college outdoor venue with barely anybody else, and then after he did a 30-minute set, see Goldfinger and then jump on stage and sing half of Superman with them.
Do you know the story behind Superman in that game?
I don't.
So I'll tell you how I remember it anyway. They were on tour in Europe. Mm-hmm. Superman was never a single, and which is wild because it's an incredible song. But so they're on tour. This is not the important song in their set, But all of a sudden they notice that everywhere they go, everyone's freaking out when they play that song, and it's their absolute biggest song. And then they find out it's because it's come out in a video game that everyone's playing.
Oh, so
they had no idea.
That's so funny.
It was probably some lawyers and label people, and probably they had to sign something on the bus.
Yeah.
But they had no idea. It just was a total shock that.
And that's
that
interesting
so
too.
big.
That they that whoever made that decision would have decided to put a non-single, on the soundtrack of a video game or something. Just for any reason at all, just would have promoted any song that wasn't a single or labeled as a single. Typically, once something gets designated as a single, like it's the only thing that's pushed. It's the only thing you hear unless you listen to the whole album.
I've only seen Goldfinger twice.
It's the only time I've seen them live.
I saw them in 1997. Me and Joey and another dude from high school. We went. I drove us into the city to see the show at Roseland, I think. Mm-hmm. At the time, I was 17, so I had a license. I could drive in Jersey, but technically I wasn't allowed to drive into Manhattan because you had to be 18.
Oh, okay.
So I broke the law. And then the next
breaking
day...
Breaking the law!
And that's when I accidentally burnt Joey's scalp when we were bleaching his hair. Which he talks about all the time.
That's all he has now.
I know.
It's his scalp.
It's my fault. And then the next day, we were supposed to all go to school, which we did. But first, we stayed home for a while, and I cooked us all a huge breakfast. And we went in late. Badass.
Sick.
Absolute badass.
Sick.
So that's the first time I saw them. And then the second time that I saw Goldfinger was when we were playing with them. And that was probably the coolest band. Like from my perspective, that's the coolest band I've ever played with because of how much I like Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Just super exciting to play with someone that I loved that much.
I know the feeling.
Yes. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've got for Goldfinger. That's a really cool story. And no, I've never heard it before. I wonder why you were keeping that one in your head.
But for this moment, I guess.
All right. Well, we're done. We did all the things. We said all the things.
We got through it in under 3 hours.
Yeah, I thought it was going to take like 30 to 40 minutes.
I think that was just like our first 2 shows.
I'm seriously Marg dehydrated now.
Yeah, we need Margs.
So we're gonna call it a night and do the Margs. So thanks everyone for joining us. Thanks Mur for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I'll probably say some more stuff after I walk away and film more things. But this was fun.
I had a pleasant time.
Snoochie booches.
Snoochie booches.
All right. Catch you later. Well, that's our list of the greatest shows we've ever been to. I want to give a huge thank you to Mur for joining me. It was awesome having someone else to talk to. What did you think of our picks? What are some of the best shows you've ever been to? Did you enjoy Mur joining me for the video? Should I have more guests? Would you be into more podcast-style videos? Let me know down in the comments. Finally, please make sure you like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the YouTube stuff. I know it's annoying to hear that all the time, but it really helps. I'm having a great time making these videos, and the more that I know that you're enjoying them, the more that it motivates me to continue. I'll catch you next time, but until then, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes! See ya.